Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and we're back with some more weekly painting progress. And I will be the first person to say not much progress was made this week at all. I will admit I was incredibly lazy, but in my defense, this is like my last true week of freedom. And I felt like, well, I'm entitled to veg and be lazy every now and then. And I was. I did manage to get a couple of things painted, but for the most part, I didn't really have anything to show for that time this past week. I figure, you know what, once I'm back at work, because like I said, this is my last true hurrah here, I at least am going to head back and start getting things prepped, and before you know it, I think students come back really early in August in our district. I feel like once I'm back in that routine of, the daily grind, I feel like I get more accomplished. I don't know if it's just like I'm in downtime right now and just kind of vegging and don't really want to do much. I don't know. Anyway, enough of that rambling. This is a Avatars of War, who currently have a Kickstarter campaign going for Thermoplastic Minotaurs, if I remember correctly. I will double check that. But this was one of their printed Goblin Assassins. I believe that's the Avatars of War logo. And if it's not, I have no idea where that came from. I don't think it is. I don't know whose logo that is. I'm sorry. Maybe one of you guys recognize it. Anyway, this was one of their Goblin Assassins. And everything was nice and peachy, other than this weird satin finish that the Tamiya primer, sealer, not primer, is giving me. But I dropped him, unfortunately, and I broke the hilt of the sword that he has strapped to his back. So I'm going to have to fix that. I completely lost it because I was spraying outside. And I figured maybe I've got plenty of swords. We can find something. We'll just glue a hilt on there. Fun model, though. And I believe they just had a set of modular Goblin Infantry as well from Avatars of War on their tribes page, if I am remembering correctly. Which I think I am. I finally got around to trying to paint up one of the Shinigami Gundan. I believe that's what they were called, from Kyoshu Neko. Basically, they were like samurai... oh gosh. Not the Mortarians. The French ones. The Death Guard. Krieg! That's what I was thinking. It's basically like a samurai Krieg army, for lack of better terms. So this was like one of their generic riflemen. And again, unfortunately, the sealer, the Tamiya sealer that I thought was going to be more of a matte, is quite glossy. But this was kind of like my proof of concept, trying to figure it out. The leather that I used for his gloves is a bit darker than I wanted. And I couldn't figure out what color to do his tunic, so I ended up with like a maroonish purple. Probably not the best choice. Maybe I should have gone like a really burnt umbery red or something. With their red samurai armor. Anyway, like I said, he was kind of my proof of concept, and I'm probably going to print out a few more of these guys and get them going. I mean, they fit pretty well size-wise with actual plastics on similarly sized bases. In this Grognard's defense, though, he is kind of squatting down in that pose there. Nice and low. Maybe the Uras are just bigger. I don't know. How about with a printed guy from a Maker's Cult? They have some cool stuff coming this month. Or August, maybe. Their Universal Guard mechs. Then again, they usually have cool stuff. If you guys haven't checked them out, they're another one of those perpetuals that I think we're always keeping an eye on. And one that you've probably seen before, if you watch this channel enough. We finally got around to painting and finishing up were some of the Fingerlings from Dragon Trapper's Lodge. These were my test ones. I finally put some basing on them. Flesh tone and then spooky hand tone. With quite firm rear ends. And there's a whole army of these things. I've got a bunch, but I'm not sure which way I want to go, color-wise. I like both. Maybe I should just do swarms of both colors. That's one way to do it. And a Japanese peasant who doesn't look very Japanese with that reddish hair. And I'm not super happy with how her sandals turned out either. But it was just a generic farmer. Which is funny because they've done quite a few, samurai Japanese themed models yet, but I don't think they've officially done any male samurai. We had a female set for Women's Month when they did that set, but got a bunch of these laying around. I probably should get more of them painted up and finished. And then finally, this one, I'm not super happy with one issue. I painted up the Priory Commander for Conquest. Now, in my defense, it's a pretty simple paint job, I will admit. I just wanted to get it tabletop ready, and yeah, it's a little too shiny. But there's a noticeable gap, and I thought I had angled everything between his hand and his reins on his horse. I also forgot to paint this part of his bit there. So I'll probably have to go back and fix that, but okay, that's not a big deal. I mean, if I didn't point that out, I don't think people are going to be like, oh, you didn't paint it. But I'll know. Nice model, plastic. I feel like it's still the level of detail. Like when I was first painting it and looking at it, I know I've heard people levy the criticism towards the Conquest stuff that a lot of the models feel blown up. Like they were originally scaled for typical 28mm, but then they've been, embiggened even larger. There's no denying they're big models. I mean, but like you can see, this is one of the really household knights. His horse is rearing up, and this guy's almost as big. Of course, the Order of the Ashen Dawn, I've spent a good chunk of my time painting this week. I'm still not done with a single guy yet. But this was a nice model. It's also a plastic one. I believe this was one of the first plastic character models, mounted character models, and I wasn't sure what to do with that face on the back of his armor there, but he's done at least, and I don't know, I keep actually leaning towards wanting to do 100 Kingdoms warband now, which I can safely say I had never had any intention before, but working on these guys, and especially working on that Order of the Ashen Dawn, they're just monstrous, huge cavalry guys. I mean, my Varangard here was like my gold standard for big, chunky cavalry, but nope. Sorry, buddy. I think you've been outed at this point. Conquest just has some interesting models. I also have some pricey stuff. I mean, I'll admit, I was looking at that Tontor or whatever the big giant Brontosaurus, Patasaurus, sauropod monster was, but that thing's like $200, and I'm like, that's a bit too rich for my tastes. Now, if they want to send me one, by all means, yeah, I'd totally paint it up. I mean, I'm going to probably pick up one of those Apex Predator T-Rexes one of these days. I mean, I've got, like, the Chief and the Chiefess. I don't know what the female equivalent is, but, I want to get one of the big models for them. I haven't built anything that big yet from the line either. But I'm happy with this guy, I think, other than the fact that, yeah, that gap pisses me off, and that's on me, because I thought I got everything all straightened out before I glued him. Obviously not. And having to paint his reins, which I'm probably going to do after I finish uploading this to YouTube. But yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, next week is a little bit more productive. I should have at least one of those Orders of the Ashen Dawn riders finished. Of course, I was half tempted just to put one of their horses in the video, because I'm like, that should count for something. I got a lot of stuff that just needs to be finished, and I don't know, I'm getting excited about all the new Kingdom Death stuff, and the possibility of it actually showing up soon, so I gotta get rolling on that. If there's ever anything that you guys have seen in some videos at some point, if you want to suggest anything that gets painted and offer words of encouragement, or if you have any interesting ideas, by all means, drop me a line. You can find us on Patreon, you can find me on Instagram, you can find us on Discord. You can find me on the internet because I'm always floating around anyway. And speaking of finding things, we will have links for you guys to find all this stuff as well. We'll have that weekly painting progress hashtag too, so you can try to check out any of this stuff when I inevitably post it. I know I've been lazy about social media, but again, it's just that time of year. I don't feel like doing a whole lot. Sorry. Anyways, then, with that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye.